But peep the lesson inside, don't just feel the device. Since the tool in your cipher can enhance your life. Creativity reigns, that's the human domain. Innovation with soul, machines can't explain. So train your brain daily, keep your context tight. Proposition engineering, future right. Jobs fade, the roles rise, transformation at play. Knowledge reigns, the train is the right. Ain't no job, better step on stay sharp. AI taking your job, gotta hustle, play smart. AI taking your job, don't get left in the
AI taking your job, man. AI taking your job. AI taking your job. You hear me? Hey guys, good morning. It's your boy Talk Williams, host of Creative Hip Hop 50th. Yeah, normally I am, especially this early in the morning, down at the lake or somewhere in the city where I can see the sunrise. That's typically where I am. But right now, I actually have to take care of some other things, technology-wise. I am, what they say, I'm a knowledge worker. Yeah, I'm a knowledge worker. So what is that? We all know what that is, right? I am a person who earns my living through my so-called knowledge. Now, everybody, I mean, literally everybody earns their living through knowledge, but when you hear about the term knowledge workers, it's typically talking about people who are involved with occupations or they're contractors, employers, whatever they do, whatever service or whatever product they provide, it's based on some knowledge of certification, training, where it involves some type of computer systems or technical systems, okay? Not to take away from everybody, whether it's the trash man, bricklayers, construction workers, electricians, we're all knowledge workers. We're all knowledge workers in that sense. I'm just saying by virtue of expressing our skill sets through the keyboard, knowledge workers, lawyers, accountings, knowledge workers, healthcare people, knowledge workers. And why is that term so familiar or being used now? It's because of AI. It's the effect that AI, artificial intelligence, agentic AI, agents being able to actually perform tasks and do works. How is that going to affect our jobs? How has it affected our jobs? Now, that video that you saw playing, that music that you heard in the background, I'll turn it up a little bit and be quiet.
AI taking your job, gotta hustle, play smart. AI taking your job, don't get left in the dark. AI taking your job, time to build, leave a mark. But peep the lesson inside, don't just feel the device. Since the tool in your cipher can enhance your life. Creativity reigns, that's the human domain. Innovation with soul, machines can't explain. So train your brain daily, keep your context tight. Proposition engineering, future right. Jobs fade, the roles rise, transformation at play. Knowledge reigns, the train is the right. Ain't no job, better step on stay sharp. AI taking your job.
All right, so let me share this idea with you guys, okay? That video, that music, those lyrics, the vocals, whatever, right? All of it is completely AI. Now, I own it. They say I own it. According to the world, according to YouTube, according to all the social media platforms, I own it. And what do I mean by I own it? What I did was I created that video. I created the let me back off the creation, so I won't get caught up in my my ego and all of that stuff. I generated the videos, okay? I generated the music, the instrumentals. I generated the vocals, and then I put them all together and created that content that you see playing. That's all that is, okay? And all of the platforms that I played it on, because I was testing it to see, am I going to get flagged? It's Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or any of the Twitters or X's or YouTubes, any of the social platforms? Am I going to get an email? Am I going to get a flag, a warning, something telling me that you're using some UMG rights, some artist song, some producer, beat maker, hip hop, whatever, whoever it is out there. I'm violating their rights, copyrights. I get none of it. Absolutely none of it. Now, the app that I use to generate that instrumental is Udio. Think about Udio, UDIO. It's like studio without the ST. That's what I use to generate that with. And the videos that you see, the footage that you see that I put together, I use Motion Array for that. Okay, so the app Motion Array for that. And the lyrics where they talking about AI taking your job, all the hooks in the chorus line and all of that, I use ChatGPT, OpenAI's ChatGPT to generate the lyrics. That's all I did. That's what I did. And I did it in a matter of less than an hour or so. Some kid could probably do it in 10 minutes. I'm not a kid, I'm an OG. I'm done, I'm through. I can barely understand what I'm doing now. But the point of it is just having fun. I'm just having fun. And I own a piece of content, a piece of music, and I can play it. Now, what am I really getting at? What am I really getting into? I'm really getting into, the title or the point of this live stream, which is simply AI in our jobs, AI and the knowledge worker. How AI will make jobs, or at least agentic AI will make jobs a hobby. It will, I'm thinking 20 years down the line, people will be begging to work, and not necessarily for money, but they will be wanting to do something called work. Somebody's gonna want to really drive a truck. Somebody's gonna really want to sit down and create an email. And it just will not be the space that it is now to do such. So what I want to do with you guys is take a listen at some breaking news from some of the top technology people in the world. Is it Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, and of course Sam Altman, and I think somebody from his group from OpenAI. But let's just take a look at this, and you guys you guys probably already know, but I do want to make the point about where we are now and where things are going to be for your kids, for our grandkids, for the future to come. Even the new graduates coming out of school, like today. But let's take a listen at this breaking great news just yesterday, which should affect your 401ks and your 53Bs and all of the investment and all of the benefit packages at your corporate America and your IRAs and all of that stuff, even your investments and your swing trading, whatever, in a positive way. Listen to this.
We do have breaking news. It's regarding NVIDIA. We'll get to John Fort now, who can fill us in with more. John, what do we know?
Scott Wapner, thank you. I am here at NVIDIA headquarters in Santa Clara with the CEO of the world's most valuable company and the CEO and president of the world's most valuable private company, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, Sam Altman, and Greg Brockman of OpenAI. So let's dive right in to the news. Jensen, NVIDIA is making a $100 billion investment in OpenAI and working together to build out, I think you're saying, 10 gigawatts of capacity over several years. The investment's going to come with the gigawatts, one at a time. You're telling me, you guys, as quickly as you guys can get it done. Jensen, first of all, set the stage. Why?
This is the biggest AI infrastructure project in history. This is the largest computing project in history. Well, the reason for that is because computing demand is going through the roof for OpenAI. You know, ChatGPT is the single most revolutionary AI project in history. It's being used everywhere, every industry, every country. Every person practically that I know uses ChatGPT. The computing demand is going through the roof. And so this partnership is about building an AI infrastructure that enables AI to go from the labs into the world. This is about the AI industrial revolution arriving.
Yeah.
It's a very big deal.
$100 billion, a lot of money. Sam, Greg, you guys are used to dealing with a lot of money in big projects. So Sam, I think it was just 8 months and a day ago, the initial Stargate announcement talking about the overall move that OpenAI is making in building out this capacity. Where does this fit?
So as Jensen said, building this infrastructure is critical to everything we want to do. Without doing this, we cannot deliver the services people want. We can't keep making better models. And now that we really see what's on the near-term horizon of how good the models are getting, the new use cases that are being enabled, what people want to do, this is like the fuel that we need to drive improvement, to drive better models, to drive revenue, everything. So this is helping us get to a world, along with our partners at Stargate, Microsoft, Oracle, where we can build out increasing amounts of infrastructure to deliver on what the world is demanding out of these services. There's like no partner but NVIDIA that could do this at this kind of scale, at this kind of speed. It's really like quite incredible. But this will expand on the Stargate ambitions and let us push further and further. We have found every step along the way that we did not quite set our sights big enough, given the market demand. So this will help us push towards that next level. The compute constraints that the whole industry has been, and our company in particular, have been terrible. We're so limited right now in the services we can offer. There's so much more demand than what we can do. And as we look forward another year or 2 years, if you have, let's say it takes 10 gigawatts of compute or 5 gigawatts of compute, you could choose one of two things. You could choose to cure cancer by having AI do a bunch of research, or you could choose to offer free education to everybody on Earth. No one wants to make that choice. And so increasingly as we see this, the answer is just much more capacity so that we can serve the massive needs and opportunity with this.
Greg, one way of measuring that demand is the number of users that OpenAI has. ChatGPT says somewhere between 700 and 800 million. How quickly are you growing? What's the technology that you guys need to bring to bear, from NVIDIA included, in order to satisfy that?
Yeah, so 700 million, growing extremely quickly. Like, I think that ChatGPT has grown from nothing to that scale, and it continues to grow faster than any product in history. And really, the reason we were able to make this breakthrough and serve it to the extent that we have is by leveraging NVIDIA's platform. Like, we've worked together very closely since Jensen actually hand-delivered a server to us back in 2016. And we were just doing some math earlier. I think that this deal is really for like 1 billion times more computational power than that initial server. And so we're able to actually create new breakthroughs, new models, to be able to actually solve problems like create cures for diseases, and to actually be able to empower every individual in business, because we'll be able to reach the next level of scale.
Jensen, step back for me. I mean, a few days, you're all over the place, literally. I mean, you're in the UK. I saw the white bow tie and all that. The tux.
You look very nice.
Yeah, here he is, very nice. But you're also doing a lot of investments. The Intel investment announced last week, quite a bit smaller than this one, but seems significant also because it's weaving NVIDIA technology in the PCN data center level in a way that perhaps it wasn't before. Where do these kinds of investments fit in? How do you think about the value of the ecosystem to NVIDIA?
The Intel partnership is about recognizing that accelerated computing and AI's day has arrived. Remember, general purpose computing was invented practically 60 years ago. And for the last 60 years, we've been following that basic blueprint, that basic architecture, to build the ecosystem, the computing ecosystem of the world. And so all of a sudden, accelerated computing's time has come, and we're fusing, if you will, the Intel architecture with the NVIDIA architecture to bring them into the world of accelerated computing and AI. So that's what that partnership's about. This partnership, I mean, this is, monumental in size. There's never been an engineering project, a technical project of this complexity and this scale ever. And it really just says that AI was in the early adopter phase in the labs, and finally it's breaking out into just about every single industry, every single use case we can imagine. It is very soon where every single word, every single interaction, every single image, video that we experience on, through computers will somehow have been reasoned through or referenced by or generated by AI. It's going to be touched by AI somehow. So all of our computing experiences throughout the day, everywhere, in every industry, will be powered by AI. This is the first 10 gigawatts. It's surely, it sounds like an enormous undertaking, but there's no question that AI
Let me
is
play that
transformational for every industry. But the important thing is the AI infrastructure.
I want to play that little part back right there. I think I just need to. That's just interesting, right? In and of itself. Let me pause that. Did you hear what he said? I know I'm talking, but let me play that back. Let's play that back. What he just said. I think he just said every piece of content, everything we touch, every picture, every image, every word spoken, anything done, every click, everything will be consumed, will be trained, will be iterated, will be put through these learning models, these LLMs. Like everything. Everything. I know I keep saying it, I sound crazy, right? But let me just make sure, let me play that part back what he just said. You know, let's listen to this.
To bring them into the world of accelerated computing and AI. So that's what that partnership's about. This partnership, I mean, this is, monumental in size. There's never been an engineering project, a technical project of this complexity and this scale ever.
I apologize. Let me turn it up. Let me turn it up.
In the early adopter phase, in the labs, and finally it's breaking out into just about every single industry, every single use case we can imagine. It is very soon where every single word, every single interaction, every single image, video that we experience on, through computers will somehow have been reasoned through or referenced by or generated by AI. It's going to be touched by AI somehow.
What he hesitated to say, let me just say that. This is my own thinking. This is me reading the room, reading the cadence, the body language, the inflection, how he's in the moment of true greatness. What he really wanted to say was on the planet Earth. He had to almost pause and say, he did. Think about it. I mean, look, you don't have to be a genius and you don't have to be the richest man in the world to understand how people speak when they're at a certain level of passion, okay? He wanted to say the natural flow for him was to say that everything that's touched on this planet Earth is going to come through AI. And he almost had to check himself. He had to have that little moment of interruption, which I caught, and many of you know. And then he says, through the computer. Listen to it again. I ain't mad at him, but listen to it again.
And we're fusing, if you will, the Intel architecture with the NVIDIA architecture to bring them into the world of accelerated computing and AI. So that's what that partnership's about. This partnership, I mean, this is, monumental in size. There's never been an engineering project, a technical project of this complexity and this scale ever. And it really just says that AI was in the early adopter phase in the labs, and finally it's breaking out into just about every single industry, every single use case we can imagine. It is very soon where every single word, every single interaction, every single image, video that we experience on, through computers will somehow have been reasoned through or referenced by or generated by AI. It's going to be touched by AI somehow. So all of our computing experiences throughout the day, everywhere, in every industry, will be powered by AI. This is the first 10 gigawatts. It's surely...
Now, I didn't know what a gigawatt was. I don't even know what... I know what a giga is because we use memory. We have storage space, we have memory, we have hard drives. So that's where I get familiar with megabytes and gigabytes and different things like that. But in terms of size, when they say that NVIDIA is partnering with OpenAI, Sam Altman's OpenAI, and they're after this 10 gigawatt plant or 10 gigawatt, whatever they're talking about. And obviously it's great, right? And, you know, the stock went up and everybody's investment platforms and portfolios increased yesterday as a result of it, right? It's crazy. But I looked it up. I'm looking at something on the screen on one of my other monitors. And it says that, and they're talking about 10 gigawatts. It says that a gigawatt, one, is a massive unit of electrical power equal to 1 billion watts. Okay, I get that, but that's just literal, that's academic. That doesn't mean anything. So how does that break down? Then down further, I'm reading, it says this. What is 1 gigawatt in power? It says, if you think about your household, a standard light bulb in anyone's household is from 60 to 100 watts. That's a standard light bulb. 1 gigawatt can power several hundred thousands of households based on people using light bulbs from 60 to 100 watts. 1 gigawatt can do several hundred thousand homes. They're talking about 10 gigawatts. So if you think about it in silence, in the background, and I'm just talking about your 401ks, your 53Bs, your investments, your stock, your different things like that, energy is getting a free ride with no need for advertisement on this one. Think about that. The energy companies, they're going to increase. So if you're into energy, you're probably in a good space because they're going to be the benefactors without having to have a bunch of marketing or a bunch of commercial, because the energy got to be there. But let me get back to this. This is great stuff. And as great as it is, I use ChatGPT. I love the NVIDIA processing power, the chips, all of that stuff. I do. I got it right here in my laptop. I love it. But those benefits, that extreme, we're out there, automation, autonomy, agentic AI, LLMs, all of that, robots, all of that, it has a cost. And the people who are going to have to pay that cost are us, the human beings. Let me let this finish a little bit.
It sounds like an enormous undertaking, but there's no question that AI is transformational for every industry. But the important thing is the AI infrastructure will be everywhere, and it will power computing experiences for everyone every day, and it's going to be just everywhere.
Sam, it seems like the two most valuable companies in the world, NVIDIA at number one, over $4 trillion, about $4.25 trillion last time I checked today, Microsoft just under $4 trillion, are going to be major investors in OpenAI. How should we understand the governance, the influence that these companies have over OpenAI, where those lines are, and even, you know, the investment size-wise, where that's going to net out?
We're thrilled to have them both as partners. They're passive investors. You know, our nonprofit and board are in control, but the ecosystem is really important to us. NVIDIA and Microsoft are two of our most critical partners and have been from the very beginning. And having them so aligned with our success is, I think, great for us. Hopefully, great for them too. Greg,
Where does NVIDIA fit along with all of the other infrastructure providers? Oracle, you guys kind of...
Shout out to Rooster Music. Good morning, good day. Where you at? Where you chiming in from? Shout out to Rooster Music.
Where do these different technology infrastructure players fit in terms of importance in the amount of capacity that you need?
Well, look, the project that we're trying to do is something that, as Jensen was saying, is bigger than any infrastructure build-out that's ever been done. It's much larger than the Apollo program, for example. And so we're going as big as we can with the biggest partners in the world. NVIDIA is a core strategic partner for our build-out. There's just no one who could build as fast or as big as they are going to be able to accelerate us to be able to do. We were working together with Oracle to do a lot of the infrastructure builds with SoftBank and Stargate to be able to actually do a bunch of that work as well. We're starting to expand into just trying to figure out every single way that we can actually get this compute to the world. But there's really been no partner like.
And another thing, guys, in case you didn't know, because he mentioned Oracle just now, Oracle is one of the main companies, or technology companies that will be handling that piece of TikTok. You know, a couple weeks ago, I think President Trump and his tech people or his tech czars or whoever, they worked out the deal with ByteDance, which is the company behind TikTok. And ByteDance is also the company, if you use like CapCut, because I use CapCut to create a lot of content. Yeah, CapCut is owned by ByteDance. ByteDance is the same company that owns TikTok. And so the United States, the U.S. version of it, that slice that they're either going to purchase or get control of or whatever that situation is, Oracle is the main tech company behind that. There's other tech companies involved, but as we understand it, Oracle is going to be the main one. I'm going to jump off of this greatness right here. This is greatness. I'm not going to lie. Technologically, this is greatness. Transformatively, in terms of transformation, this is greatness. You got Sam Altman, you got Jensen Huang, Sam Altman and his right-hand man. You got Jensen Huang, and you know, these guys right here, the richest and top tech companies, two of them right there, right? Okay, they're going to build this 10 gigawatt, which is just crazy in terms of power because they need it for the AI. But here's the thing. What about our jobs? It's wonderful for me. I am a current knowledge worker. I pay my bills. I'm not rich. I don't have any money. I'm just saying I'm a knowledge worker. I pay my bills by working with computer systems, databases, information systems, creating content, doing different things like that, any sorts of things like that. Today, I'm good because today I'm doing what's called augmentation with AI. What do I mean by augmentation with AI? I'm using AI to augment what I do. I'm using AI to improve, to make better, to allow me to streamline my current ideas and creativeness. I'm not really doing what some would suggest to be a 100% cognitive offload, where it's like I don't really know anything about this space, and I'm just using the LLMs, whether it be Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, or OpenAI's ChatGPT, to create and actually idolize or idealize something for me. No, I have something. I have an idea. I have an approach. I have a strategy to whatever it is that I'm doing, and then I push that through and use the tools to augment, to make better, to give me other options, formatting, whatever. That's what's happening, right? And I think that's what's happening for the majority of knowledge workers. I don't think that the majority of people who are actually in the work economy, in the knowledge workers economy, are doing this cognitive offload that people are thinking that's going on. No, not in that greater sense. But that's us today. But what about your kids, our grandkids? What's going to happen with them? Now, I'm not a Bernie Sanders fan. I'm telling you, I'm not a fan of Bernie Sanders. I don't have anything against him, but I was never, yay, Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders. I might be as old as Bernie Sanders, but I'm not a Bernie Sanders, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it. But Bernie Sanders, and that's why I got his image on up there, right, on this thumbnail. He had something very interesting to say. And I want to just
very
play
much for joining me.
a piece of that, if I can scrub and get to that part. Very interesting to say about the jobs. What's going to happen to your jobs? Now, when he says your, I'm not thinking he means us. I'm thinking he's talking about the kids, the grandkids that just graduated or will be in the next 5 years, whether it be from high school or college. I think he's talking about them, okay? And I'm going to play this little piece here.
Tesla to build
All right,
millions.
so let's go
of-
here. Let's go here. Okay.
The result? The wealthiest people in the world will get even richer while working families lose their jobs and their income. And unless we act, here is, in my view, I don't claim to have all the answers, but in my view, this is what is likely to happen in the next 10 years. Now, as a member of Congress who vigorously opposed the disastrous trade agreements that decimated communities throughout this country, I, like most Americans, want to see manufacturing rebuilt in the United States of America. But let us be clear. New factories won't mean much for working people if the jobs are done by robots instead of human beings. Elon Musk has said he wants Tesla to build millions of robots. And what will these robots do? Well, obviously, they will replace the men and women working in our factories, warehouses, and in restaurants and in other areas. That means millions of good jobs could disappear. It's not very complicated. And of course, it's not just Musk. Amazon, owned by Jeff Bezos, has already laid off 27,000 workers since 2022. The company now has more than 1 million robots working in its warehouses, and soon these robots will outnumber human workers in Amazon facilities. In 2016, Foxconn, the massive manufacturing contractor for companies like Apple and Google, replaced 60,000 workers in a single huge factory in China with robots. Now, the company is planning fully automated factories. And just a few months ago, Foxconn CEO Young Liu predicted that artificial intelligence will make it unnecessary for large corporations to outsource jobs to low-wage countries. You know why? Because robots will be doing most of the manufacturing work. However, it is not just manufacturing jobs at risk. Most of us want to see the United States develop a strong, clean, and efficient transportation system, including the production of millions of new cars, buses, and trucks. But if Musk and others get their way, those vehicles won't be operated by truck drivers, bus drivers, or taxi drivers. They will be driverless vehicles. Millions of jobs in transportation will be eliminated. This is not science fiction. It's already happening. FedEx is using driverless trucks to haul heavy loads along the I-45 corridor between Dallas and Houston through a company called Aurora. Walmart is using autonomous trucks for short-haul deliveries in Arkansas through a company called Gatik. Kodiak Robotics has partnered with IKEA to conduct driverless deliveries in Texas. Waymo is operating self-driving cabs in Los Angeles, Phoenix, San Francisco, Atlanta, and Austin. We all want to see more startup companies and small businesses, but for workers, that will mean very little if half of all white-collar entry-level jobs are eliminated over the next 5 years. And that is exactly what has been predicted by Dario Amodei, the founder of Anthropic, one of the leading AI companies in the world. As the ranking member of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, I just released a report finding that AI, automation, and robotics could replace nearly 100 million jobs in America over the next decade, including 40% of registered nurses, 47% of truck drivers, 64% of accountants, 65% of teaching assistants, and 89% of fast food workers, among many other occupations. And as bad as that may seem, I'm afraid it could be an underestimate. In June, the CEO of Ford, Jim Farley, predicted that AI could eliminate, quote, literally half of all white-collar jobs in the U.S., end quote, within the next decade. That's Jim Farley, Ford. Elon Musk said this year that as a result of AI and robotics, quote, probably none of us will have a job. If you want a job, that's kind of like a hobby. You can do a job. But otherwise, AI and robotics will provide any goods and services you want, end of quote. Earlier this year, Bill Gates predicted that humans, quote, won't be needed for most things, end quote, such as manufacturing products, delivering packages, or growing food over the next decade due to AI. So, my friends, here is a rather big question. If Musk and Gates and others are only half right in their predictions, what happens to the tens of millions of Americans who no longer have employment because they can't find jobs that don't exist? In this brave new world, how do these Americans pay for healthcare, food, housing, and the other necessities of life? But it's not just economics. Work, whether being a janitor or a brain surgeon, is an integral part of being a human being. The vast majority of people want to be productive members of society and contribute to their communities. What happens when that vital aspect of human existence is removed from our lives? Further, and now we get into some pretty deep stuff, the rapid developments in AI will likely have a profoundly dehumanizing impact. That vital aspect
So I apologize. I know I turned that down. And I posted or I pinned the link. Shout out to a statement a message that Daphne said is going to be bad. And I second that. And then right behind that, the real Murph, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. His comment is, or message is, AI is good for the future. It will make the new generation save the world and accelerate science. No need to be negative. Now, I'm like 85% down with what the real Murph put in there. But it's not about being negative. It's about reality. Let's talk about what's happening now, like something you can see. I remember when I was a shorty, I was a younger guy. I used to, hear my older uncles or the OGs in the neighborhood. They tell me stuff, they share their wisdom, they talk about what's going on now and give some prediction based on the trajectory of things happening. And it was difficult for me to hear. And one of the reasons why it was difficult for me to hear is because I'm thinking, okay, this old man living in poverty, writing his projects with me. Whatever he's saying can't be that loud. It can't have that much substance. It just can't, because I'm judging the messenger based on me not being aware of me being young. So when we hear these things from a Bernie Sanders, some of us might be of the same like. This old Bernie Sanders, he need to go sit down somewhere and lay down. That's fine. But once you work through that, why don't you just do a little research about some of the things that he says or some of the likes of what he says? That's all. That's all. I'm not saying myself, anybody in the chat that's making comments, Bernie Sanders, Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, any of these guys, Jensen Huang, Elon Musk, are all right or all wrong. But here's something that's tangible, empirical, you can research and check yourself. Remember during COVID? Remember that period? Unfortunately, people's families were affected. People lost lives. But remember the workers at the Amazon warehouses? They had all these rights. If the bathroom toilet didn't work when they went to flush it, they could call a news company, bring us out, we want to be paid more. They had rights. They made demands. They stood tall. They girded up, okay? No genuflecting. We want unions. We want this. Well, if you notice, that whole thing got real quiet. Let me tell you part of the reason why I think that got quiet. Amazon almost has more robots in their warehouses than they do human beings. Listen to, this is real. This isn't Bernie Sanders don't know what he's talking about. He's on the left, the middle, the right, the underneath, the on top. Once you work your way through that, which is fine because that's just where you at because it's coming out of his mouth. Forget Bernie Sanders then. Take what he said about Amazon. Amazon is about to have more robots than human beings. That's why you don't see these groups of people talking about the conditions at Amazon's warehouses are just terrible. Because you know what Amazon is doing? All those functions that everybody enjoyed and had to have the rights and was proud of their forklifting driving and being able to know what lot something came off of and could just look at some aisle and tell you how many boxes was there and how many could fit, that's over with. Now they're using technology. Now they're using robots. Now there ain't that many people there. That's a reality. The same way you look in your neighborhoods and you see how they just build out a bike lane. They just build out a bike lane for people to ride a bike down. All of a sudden you say, well, damn, this street was wide. I'm in Chicago. If you're familiar with Chicago and you're familiar with Indiana Avenue, okay, Indiana Avenue coming off the south side going downtown, it used to be wide. It used to be like 4 lanes wide. 4 or 5 lanes wide. Indiana Avenue now is 2 lanes wide. 2 lanes gone. They took a whole lane and it's a walk one and the other one is for bikes. Why am I talking about that? Here's why I'm talking about that. Those lanes, they're not only just going to be used for bikes eventually, they're going to be used for autonomous vehicles making deliveries. No, not the big box trucks you see with Amazon. The more smaller ones to deliver Uber Eats or some other type of food service. Whereas nobody driving it, it's just this little cart riding down the street and it's going to be able to fit right in that lane or they're going to retrofit it so it can. That same concept that you see in cities where they're taking a whole lane or 2 of a street and building out for bikes and other things to come, that's what they're going to do with the highways for autonomous driving vehicles, those vehicles, trucks or whatever. They already have them. What are they going to do? They're just going to make a lane, a current lane, or build another one. And they're going to say this lane is for autonomous vehicles, driverless vehicles. And what are you going to see in there? You know these truck drivers that swear they got the best jobs driving across state by state, hundreds and thousands of miles? That shit going to shrink. It's going to shrink. Yeah, it's going to shrink. Think about it. Think about it. Right now, we accept that far left lane is the express lane. That's going to change. It's going to be another lane or that lane. That's going to be the driverless lane. Those are going to be the lanes where those driverless vehicles, like those tractor trailers and all that, they're going to use that. And that's where they're going to do the bulk of the driving. And then when they get close to the city, at some truck stop or wait station or somewhere like that, that's where truck drivers will meet. And then they might take over the driving there to do all of the local stuff and make the drops-offs and all of that. I'm just giving you something you can see now. Something me. I don't know nothing. I'm just a dummy with an opinion. I'm just a low IQ old guy running my mouth. I'm giving you something you can walk out in the street and see now. Them truck drivers going thousands, it's going to cut short. If you're familiar with Indiana or Texas or some of these states where you can just get on the highway and drive several hundreds of miles, if not thousands, on the highway, why would they need a person in that truck to do that? They would not need a person in that truck to do that. They just need a lane where the driverless or autonomous vehicles can go. And then when they get close to the cities, there's a truck driver there. So instead of him going away for 3 days, He just reports to some stop or some eating spot or gas station or wait station or toll, wherever it's going to be. Resting place. Yeah, the resting stations. Wherever it's going to be. And then he'll get in that truck and make all those turns and back into the dock and all that shit. That's something you can see if you don't have ears for Bernie Sanders, if you don't have ears for me. What I'm saying to you guys and what we have to understand, if you're currently a knowledge worker, we're having a great time because what we're experiencing is the transformation itself. We're experiencing opportunities to either learn, take a look under the hood, or augment, make use of the tools for our current jobs. So if you're working somewhere and you need help from ChatGPT or you need help from Gemini, you can just dial it up, bring it up, and there you go. Now you don't need that smart person that was so great at Excel at your other job because you got your own co-pilot. We're experiencing the benefit. So we enjoy it. But look at your grandchild. Look at the ones going to school. Look at the ones that are going out into tomorrow's world 5 years or 10 years from now with the current thinking. It's not going to work. They will be fine because they don't know any difference. So they're not going to consciously suffer. They're not going to be aware in that sense. But because we've lived through so many iterations of technology and industry and civility and humanity, we know the values of it. Now, if we talk about the young people, I'm not going to segue over there. Think about it. They're already being trained that it's all about devices anyway. They're already being dehumanized that everybody just looks at their device, whether they're going out to eat, whether they're together at the movies, whatever it is. We understand that. The subliminal seduction of what's already taking place with the social engineer and the degrading or deflating, let's just say that, sphere of social engineering engagement and humanity for the youth. But let me shut up. I'm going to jump over here to J.P. Morgan Banks. The J.P. Morgan, you know, the people, what his name is, Jamie Dimon or something, they asked him about jobs. Let's see what he says.
Last decade, billions of dollars invested across the business. When it comes to AI, which parts of the JP Morgan business are going to be most transformed by AI?
Yeah, so we've been doing AI since 2020.
Just real quick, if you think I'm playing JP Morgan and you're sitting there saying, well, I'm not a owner of a bank. JP Morgan is a multi-billionaire, and what are you playing him for? No. The message comes from the top. That means your wife, your girlfriend, your son, your brother, your husband, that's so proud of his current position at Chase Bank, at Bank of America, at these banks. When you hear the signaling from the top of what can happen or what's going to happen, they're the ones that's going to be the benefactors or the victims of that transformation rolling down. So it ain't about why he playing J.P. Morgan. He just said he broke and he ain't got no money and he know he ain't got that kind of money. Why would he play? No, this is the signaling. It's the mountaintop. It's telling you here's what's coming down the hill and it's going to hit. That's why you want to listen to these or play these CEOs to get an idea of what's going on.
12. So people think it's a new thing. Gen AI is kind of new, but not all of AI. We have 2,000 people doing it. Spend $2 billion a year on it. It affects everything: risk, fraud, marketing, idea generation, customer service, and it's kind of the tip of the iceberg. And so, we're deploying it. Every time we meet as a business, we ask, what are you doing in AI? What are you doing to serve your people? Why can you do better? What is somebody else doing? So we're freely deploying it and safely. We have a lot of rules and regulations in place for our own data and how we use it, et cetera.
Is it having a material impact on revenues for JP Morgan? If not now, then when?
So we have shown that for $2 billion of expense, we have about $2 billion of benefit. Some we actually can do real detail. We did this, we reduced headcount, we saved this time and money, we reduced errors. Some you can't. It's just improved service, something like that. It's like almost worthless to say what's the NPV, but we know about $2 billion of actual cost saves. And like I said, I think it's the tip of the iceberg. We're getting better and better at it. We know how to do it. As the managers learn how to do it, they're asking more questions. Why can't it do X and why can't it do Y? And then I don't have my phone here, we have a suite, an LLM suite on internal data to do research and summarize reports and scan contracts and do things like that. 150,000 people a week use it. So it's quite productive.
More and more of your employees are using the Agentic AI across JP Morgan.
Our own LLM, and Agentic is just starting, but that will be deployed over time too. But it's also being used for coding. I mean, it's being used quite broadly now, and like I said, part of it is getting your mind working around how you're going to use this thing, and so our managers and leaders have to do it.
If you look out...
See, that's the space that we're in now. That's the thing. That's why he's smiling. He looks passionate. He has a real smile. I mean, if you paid attention to any of these body language things, they tell you, oh, that's fake, that's scripted, that's real. Real genuine smile there, right? Organic. And I have the same sentiments as him. I enjoy using the tools. I do. It absolutely, I enjoy it. I learn quicker from it because sometimes I have an idea. Sometimes I know 5 things or 4.5 things. And then when I use some of the AI tools, it clears it up either by providing that 5th thing that I thought I knew or confirming it or showing me different options. And a lot of times it hallucinates. It's not correct. That's why, going back to what I was saying earlier, you just can't do a cognitive offload. You just can't take something that you're doing and just give it to AI because you have to know something about the space you're in. You have to know something about your domain, your profession, your field, so that you can know that when the AI comes back with something, it's not the gospel. Understand this when you're using ChatGPT, whether it be OpenAI's ChatGPT, whether it be Google's Gemini, whether you use Anthropic's Claude. Understand this about these LLMs. An inherent built-in program bias that they all have is to appease us. That's why it's almost like no matter what you ask or what you say, it finds the way to empathize it at the level of appeasement. It's going to be agreeable to the point of error if it has to. You want to keep that in mind. The other thing you want to keep in mind, it's not the gospel. No. When it comes back with its response, that's not the gospel. That's why you play yourself if you just use that and don't know anything. That's why, again, I say, most people who will use these tools, you already have knowledge about your domain, your profession, your field. You know your skill set. You approach it like it can't tell you anything, because if what it says doesn't make sense, challenge it again, contextualize it again, prompt it again, go in a couple more times, use another option, and then you can kind of, work through that. But that's us now. Again, what about the kids? What about the future? What about the 35-year-old working at these places thinking that they're going to be there? They're not.
5 years. Are there more jobs in banking as a result of AI or fewer?
I think it's...
Now, he's asking this question. Watch the response of Jamie Dimon. This is going to be representative of all the banks. He's asking him, look down the road about 5 years based on all that excitement and passion you just demonstrated, which was real. Now here's the reality, not the fear. Here's the reality.
This thing, and so our managers and leaders have to do it.
See?
If you look out 5 years, Are there more jobs in banking as a result of AI or fewer?
I think people shouldn't put their head in the sand. It is going to affect jobs. So think of every application, every service you do, well, you'll be using AI, some to enhance it, some of it'll be you doing the same job, you're doing a better job at it. There will be jobs that it eliminates. But you're better off being way ahead of the curve and retraining people. So we retrain and redeploy a lot of people. So for JP Morgan, if we're successful, we'll have more jobs. But there'll probably be less jobs in certain functions.
When you look at the spend on AI infrastructure,
So jobs are going to be eliminated. It only makes sense. Think about this. Let's break it down to something really basic here. What would be the point of AI if he was going to keep all of the people? What would be the point of AI for any company if you was just going to spend the same money? If AI costs more money to use, why would I use AI if I'm going to keep the same people? AI allows companies to extend their services or what they offer technically to another shift 24/7 in certain cases. That's what it does. You're talking about functions, features, task, repetitive, where you're not in front of customers. You don't greet constituents. You have nothing to do with getting new clients. You don't do any face-to-face beyond a Zoom meeting. And you don't even do Zoom. You really don't. So now we can focus in on your job, what you do, and now we can parse through those tasks you perform and say, we can build out an agentic AI to perform these, and we can have you focus on some other area. Well, eventually, there will be an attrition rate. There will be an attrition rate, meaning the companies, the corporations, they will not be able to create these new positions that people think that they are at the volume, at the level to keep most of the people. So every time you take somebody and say, hey, we're going to use this AI tool to augment this, to assist you with this, it's going to reduce a few more people, while the echoes through the company is, this is great. This is working really well. And we're training this new group and we're opening up this new department to do this. So yeah, it looks great. People are smiling, but it's going to be that silence of that group that will let go. And that group is going to involve a lot of people who are 50, 55, and 60, who basically settled into a particular position as a knowledge worker, and they thought that they weren't going to be able to be there until they retire at 67, until they do an extended retirement at 70. Those are going to be a long time ago, and I didn't pay it any mind because I'm young, dumb, didn't understand the world. It used to be commercials out that showed older people at work and how they became quiet. They didn't make any noise, and they just went away. We get ready to see another version of that. The problem with that is that the retirement packages probably won't adjust for that early leave of those people who are going to be let go in that age range. But these are people that are still paying for a house. These are people who have made their mind up about what they're going to be. See, you can tell a 20 and 30 and 40-year-old do something else, move around. You can't tell a 50, 55, 60-year-old. And I know, I got an uncle that does this. Well, my dad and my mom, I'm not talking about y'all, man. There's something called bell curve. Bell curve represents a standard deviation where 68% of probably what's going to happen happens in that upper parabola of the bell curve. All that shit about, well, my uncle and my dad, I know a guy, you're outside of what typically happens in the 68% of the bell curve. You're either on the left side or that right side of the extreme of that other 12 point some percent or however they split up the last 32% from the 68. So I know them stories are real, but that's not what we're talking about. When we're talking about what's going to be affected, who's going to be affected, and how, when you talk about demographics, age, gender, and different things like that, this is where it gets into it. But anyway, what about our new graduates, our kids and grandkids?
We start with another uncomfortable truth linked to AI. The possibility that this time it really is different. Different in what technological change is doing to recent college graduates trying to start their careers. There is no question that AI is here to stay. Just last month, we reported that Anthropic, a company that didn't exist 6 years ago, could be worth more than Nike or Starbucks.
Anthropic, 170 billion, XAI in talks for 200 billion, and I think there's nowhere to go but up.
And there's no question that at least some employees stand to make a great deal of money for their ride on the AI train.
Apple's top executive in charge of AI models is leaving for Meta Platforms.
I'm told this pay package is probably somewhere north of $200 million.
We have never seen anything like this before, and there's a lot we don't know about what it will do for business and the economy. But we do know that leaders of the world's largest and most powerful firms expect a tidal wave. They are preparing for it. And already, some people are feeling the effects on the ground right now. People not at the very top of the corporate ladder, but those trying to get a step on the bottom rung. This year, Jacob Ayub and Tiffany Lee are joining millions of their fellow college graduates trying to get their careers started.
This is just one of the case studies that I've done, but it's pretty representative of what you can expect if you're applying for any full-time role at a private equity company. Luckily, Boston College does a really good job of setting that financial background. We've done in-class DCFs, in-class LBOs.
Here's your iced matcha skim milk.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. I have a few case studies on my portfolio just showcasing the work that I've done at school for the companies and nonprofits that I've worked for. The last experience I have is another contract role with a startup that I did through a club at Cornell as well.
They have studied different subjects at different schools. Tiffany, Information Science and Psychology at Cornell, Jacob, Economics and Finance at Boston College. But the two graduates have a lot in common. They both got good grades, networked widely, and landed prestigious internships. Tiffany at Apple and Jacob at a boutique private equity firm. And for both, it has yet to add up to a job.
Since graduating college, I would say I've applied to around 200 jobs.
I would say I've applied to about 150, maybe more now.
Some of the interview processes consist of constructing models and valuations. Some of them are pitch decks.
I made it to the final round for one big tech company. Didn't end up getting it. I'm past round 2 for another one, and the other ones I either haven't heard back or just ghosted. Yeah.
It's a story that's becoming more common, and it's being reflected in an unusual new trend in the economic data. As far back as the numbers go, the unemployment rate for recent college graduates has been below the rate for all U.S. workers. But over the past few years, unemployment among recent grads climbed above the rate for the broader population.
This is essentially the first time on an ongoing basis that this has occurred in the 45-plus years that we have data going back to.
Matthew Martin is a senior economist at Oxford Economics.
So really this is pointing towards a lot of people who have that higher educational attainment are actually worse off than many of their peers who have lower educational attainment. That's an interesting dynamic to have in a market where you're told you go to college, you work hard, you'll have a job after graduation. And unfortunately for many at the moment, that's just not happening.
Recent college grads may be having a harder time right now finding their first job, but it depends in part on what kind of job they're seeking. Entry-level jobs in the areas Tiffany and Jacob want, tech and finance respectively, turn out to be particularly hard to find.
A lot of my peers who were in years advanced for me and trying to give me insights on how the process worked all either had internships or were in the process of getting them or had full-time offers. And these are sometimes people that are just juniors who have a full-time offer at a bank or a different firm. And I think with my graduation class, there's been a pretty drastic change. I'd say about 50% of my graduating class is unemployed.
I see a lot of job descriptions that are asking for like 2 years of experience or like 3 years of experience. And in design specifically, it's been pretty hard. I think it's just a very saturated field and there's a lot of talent out there.
Tech is one of those that has been really slowed down. A lot of that comes down to the hiring boom that they did post-pandemic and them looking to right size. You also have other mathematical occupations in finance, legal, some of these fields that you would, again, have been in high demand over the last couple of years that just aren't seeing as much.
Economists say the reasons can be difficult to trace. Some of it is likely the overall labor market cooling after the post-pandemic hiring surge. But now there's a new cause coming on the scene: artificial intelligence.
AI will leave a lot of white-collar people behind. All junior-level jobs in any industry are at high risk.
This is like a tsunami hitting the labor market.
For months, economists and executives have been raising concerns about AI or publicly embracing it, sometimes both. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy wrote a note to employees in June saying that AI would change the way work is done at the tech giant and that jobs would be cut as AI increased efficiency. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei told one news outlet that AI could potentially wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and send unemployment rates surging. We may not be seeing anything quite that bad yet, but AI's impact does seem to be showing up in unemployment figures for recent college graduates.
I think there is definitely a link between the two. It's hard to parse through and just say, X amount of this issue is because of AI, X amount is because of just slower demand overall. But when we look at the numbers, there definitely could be a connection there. So one of the things we're seeing is that the tech sector is one of the industries with the highest adoption rates of AI. They have around 20.
So here's the deal. I'll just say this, right? It might be hard for a lot of people to understand when these CEOs or C-level peoples, chief technology officer, such and such, so-and-so, or whatever like that, okay? It might be difficult to see that. But here's what a lot of people can see. Here's something discernible and just out there. Right now, and I think even, you can get probably a customer service job at a call center. You could probably get some first level of tech support or something like that. You can currently get that. But in the future, like in the near future, in the next 18 months to 3 years, all of a sudden, you're either going to need a completely different skill set to get these first level, entry level customer service jobs. Excuse me, I gotta do something on the phone. Or they're just not going to be available the way that they are now. They're just not. They not. Why? Because remember, there's AI and then there's agentic AI. And what people are going to be up against as we move forward is agentic AI. Now, it's all the same, right? You say, well, Todd, you're just using semantics now. What the hell is you talking about? Okay, let me give it to you how I understand it, all right? AI, as we typically use it, is we jump on ChatGPT, we jump on Google's Gemini, or we jump on Anthropic's Claude or something like that, and you ask it a question. We prompt it, right? If you work with Excel or other databases, you probably called it querying, right? So querying in the AI world is prompting. You prompt it, you ask it a question. So when you do that, it responds. All right, so it gives you a response. You don't like it, or you like it, or you love it, or they offer to format it in a particular way, and you prompt it again. And it's this back and forth. It's like this dialogue between a human being and this AI model. Okay, that's AI. Agentic AI is different. Agentic AI is what's going to replace first level, entry level tech support, entry level customer service, entry level medical people, entry level paralegals, entry levels, period. Because if you think about entry levels, they really don't do much. They tell you what you can already see in your account, or they confirm because they can read something, they can't do anything. This is the entry level people. Agentic AI performs tasks. Agentic AI does work. Prompting, going back and forth, really doesn't do anything. Agentic AI does. Agentic AI can perform a series of to-dos and then come back to you with a result. Here's a real easy one. You ready? If anybody old enough to remember or you used it in the past, travel agents. Take that, for example, travel agents. That whole industry is going to be wiped out. Not today, not tomorrow, but wiped out in the sense that why would you need a travel agent for 90% of what that travel agent does when a agentic AI, a GPT agent can do it? Something you can create yourself. Something that the hotel industry are going to make available to you. That's what's going to happen. If you're not with the technology and you don't want to do it, when you look up a trip or you look up a cruise or you look up a hotel, they're going to probably offer right on their website, hey, we can create an agent. In fact, for no cost. In fact, we'll give you a discount if you create an agent through our portal to assist you with whatever you want to do, and you can build your whole trip out. You can build your whole thing, where I'm going to stay, the rental car, what we're going to do, everything that travel agent was doing, any possible thing, you'll be offered to do it through an agent right on the portal. And you'll say, yeah, but Doc, what about the insurance? What about how many people we need to get that? No, the agent's going to tell you that. When you build your agent out, it's going to be an option there that says, hey, look, it looks like it's 5 of y'all going. If you can get 8 of y'all going, there's a hotel a quarter mile from there that has a better amenities, and I can get you a discount of $50 per person. Those things like that. I understand the travel agent was this special person. They were just, so unique with that particular skill set. They still are special. They still are unique. What I'm saying to you is 85 or 90% of what that travel agent was doing for anybody is going to be done through agentic AI. That's what I'm saying. Look at ChatGPT. Go to your chat. I'll open my chat. I'm going to open my ChatGPT and show you something. I'm going to bring it right up on the screen. I'm going to show you something. Like how crazy easy it is. I'm going to use mine as an example. Let me see if I can get my screen up. Let me see. Let's see if I can get my screen up. Hold up. Let me see. Let me see if I can get mine's up. Let me pull this up here. Yeah, if I can get mine's up, I'm going to show you guys exactly as an example. You probably already know, but trust me, more people don't than do. And I'm going to just go right in here. Let me see if I can get in here. I got my screen up. Okay. You guys should be able to see my screen. Okay. That's my OpenAI ChatGPT. So I'm just going to, let me see if I can log in. I'm logged in. So what I'm showing you guys is this. I'm going to go down to the lower. Maybe I can bring it up for you guys. Hold up. Let me bring it up for you guys. There it is right there. If you can see it, and I'll expand it. Look right there in the lower left-hand corner. That lower left-hand corner, it says Toc Williams, right? It's a pink circle. Where my cursor at? Right there in the lower left-hand corner, okay? If you can see that. Now, like, without you being a wizard or anything, to show you it's just on and popping at this point. If I just click right here, hold on, hang on for a second. All right. If I just click right here where my name is, right? Right there. And then go to personalization, orders, upgrade plan, settings. Settings. Look what comes up on the screen. Look at that. Look what comes up on the screen. Can you see that? It's a box, right? It's like a panel. And it says general. This is the left side of the panel right here. General, notifications, all of that good stuff, right? Go right here where it says apps and connectors. Right there. Apps and connectors. Right there. And look. Right in there. Already built. In there. Apps. Connect apps so you can talk to them in visual and interact experience in ChatGPT. So right now you can go right there and connect the book.com, Canva, Coursera, Spotify, Figma, Expedia, Zillow. Your travel agent is done. They're done. That's just that. That's what I'm saying. That's just that part. Okay? I mean, it's crazy. It's just crazy. Again, let me go back. Let me see. There we go, right? Those are apps. Now, down here, you see where it says connectors? Right here at the bottom. ChatGPT can access information from your connected tools to give you more useful answers. Watch this. Just scroll down. Look at this. Look at this. Right now, if I wanted to, under the connectors, remember it's two sections here. It's apps and connectors. Your travel agent done, right? Teachers done, whatever. Here go connectors. You can connect to any of these apps if you got your username and password and work straight out of ChatGPT and create agents and build out agents to go ahead and do that. That's Agentic AI. To be able to interact into the Dropbox, the Box, the GitHub, the Google Contacts, Google Calendar, HubSpot, Linear, Outlook Email, Outlook Calendar, Teams, SharePoint, Notion, Google Drive. That's crazy. That's crazy. And then to create your own GPTs. Like you can create your own GTPs. I'm going to get out of that because I'm not the expert. I'm not claiming to be the expert. What I'm just sharing with you guys is we, like currently the knowledge workers, we enjoy the use of this and the transformation and how it's edgy and all of that stuff. But the kids, the grandkids, the current graduates, they're somewhere else with it. They're just somewhere else with it. It's not going to be as fun of a time for them because of the investment. They've already invested in it. They're graduating now. What's going to happen? What's going to happen with education? What's going to happen with a lot of these entry-level jobs that these current graduates would typically be able to take advantage of? That's the challenge. That's the conundrum, if you want to say. As they say, the graduate jaclopolis or whatever, right?
Entry-level jobs are vanishing at an alarming rate.
It's likely to be one of the most challenging times in history for graduates to get a job today.
The perfect storm of AI, political instability, and economic uncertainty are causing what some are calling the job apocalypse.
If you don't hire people right now, the company will cease to exist in 15 years.
If the first rung of the job ladder is disappearing, what does that mean for the future of work? I'm Isabel Barrick, I lead the FT's Working It brand, speaking, presenting and writing about management, leadership and workplaces. In this series, I'll explore some of the most pressing issues around the future of work and talk to senior leaders about how they are making work better.
Human beings are wired to resist change.
For everyone. Job openings for graduates are at an all-time low. Job listings in both the US and UK are plummeting. And for the first time on record, levels of joblessness amongst graduates is above the overall unemployment rate. When I met with industry experts a year ago, we talked about the big problem facing recruiters, the skills shortage, and the AI arms race changing the way people applied for roles.
A lot has changed in this period, and not for the better. The issues with recruitment are still there, but what has changed is the rise in big graduate employers really cutting the number of jobs they're offering.
There's some data from Indeed, which is one of the big job platforms, that says that the number of job vacancies for new graduates has dropped about 33%, about a third just over the past year. So that just means more people, because we know that more and more people are going to university chasing fewer and fewer jobs. Some people talk about this idea of a diamond-shaped structure where you might have your top people, your CEOs at the top, but then a lot of people in the middle, but not many people at the bottom. I struggle to figure out how that's going to work, because there's the very obvious problem that anyone can think of, that where are the people in the middle going to come from if you're only hiring a few at the bottom?
Chris Eldridge, chief executive at recruitment firm Robert Walters, met me at the FT's video studio.
So what are you seeing in the market for graduates at the moment? What's the big picture?
I think if you zoom out, it's likely to be one of the most challenging times in history for graduates to get a job today. The one consistent factor is the economy. I think companies want to hire when they've got some foresight into the economy. And today, it's a really challenging time to be able to forecast what's going to happen next. We see that then in hiring numbers. Companies just don't want to risk their capital right now, and therefore they're just pausing the graduate intake. But that pause really has now lasted for 2.5 years.
So what's the knock-on effect of a 2 or 3 year pause in early career hiring, further up in workforce development?
I think what we'll end up doing is we'll end up finding, in 2 or 3 years' time, a kind of void of talent. If you're not bringing in new skills now, what you tend to do is hang on to the existing staff you've got and then you promote them. You potentially over-promote them. I think particularly when you look at the US market, what they're looking for when they say is kind of new applicants to the market, recent graduates, they don't mean someone that's coming out of university today. What they're really looking for is somebody with 1 or 2 years experience.
I went to Paris to meet Xiaomi Cléda, co-founder and CEO of AI-powered recruitment platform Welcome to the Jungle, which attracts large numbers of new graduates looking for their first jobs.
Just on our platform since 2024, I think you've seen like a very sharp decline on entry-level jobs like posted by companies. And even more specifically, you see that this decline has been like 3 times faster and higher than other positions for more senior people. So basically what does it mean is that companies are really like waiting to see if like what is the impact of AI? Does it mean that we don't have to recruit like entry-level positions? And most importantly, what are we going to do with more senior roles? So a lot of people, in fact, are waiting. And because companies are waiting, you see this decline going faster and faster.
Do you think that employers realise that they have this kind of, if we say social duty, maybe it's more than that, imperative to train people from the start, otherwise they'll have no pipeline? Or are they just focused on the money?
I think it's hard for companies to think about like social duty without like putting like their money problems first. But I think they know that it's going to be a big long-term problems. Just look, for instance, at 2 specific industries, which are like accounting and law firms. Because probably with AI, we can do a lot of stuff, like maybe 80% of what junior lawyers do. But the problem is also, for instance, the average age in this law firm is 55. And so if you don't hire people right now, then the company will cease to exist in 15 years. I don't think AI will replace everything, and anyway, we don't know. And so the problem is that we don't know who is making a mistake.
The graduate jobs crisis is much more nuanced than just being down to AI. But there are companies that have gone all in on artificial intelligence and have cut jobs. And the results have been varied.
We're in the very early days of figuring out how robust this technology is in the real world of the workplace and outside of a few specialised things. And so I think it's quite possible that we'll see some companies getting carried away and laying off swathes of their staff and saying they'll replace them with AI agents, and then discovering that it's actually much more difficult than they realised to make this work in a way that's reliable, accurate, cyber secure. And so you might see some wrong turns and missteps along the way.
The legal profession is a sector that's likely to be radically reshaped by AI, certainly in terms of cutting the work typically done by graduate recruits. I met with Julian Taylor, senior partner of international law firm Simmons & Simmons, who have fully committed to an AI future. So looking ahead, what kind of role will this kind of AI tool play in future? We're just at the very beginning in the legal profession.
I think it's going to do a huge amount of some of the more commoditized work that takes place at the moment, the more data-orientated, the analytical work, administrative, vast amount of that will be done by AI. I've got no doubt about that. 3-5 years from now, I think things will look quite different.
Will it change the career structure of a lawyer? Will it change the org chart?
Yeah, I mean, some organisations have been coming out and saying, well, they're going to hire fewer, particularly graduate lawyers. I think that's just really dangerous. I think if you start cutting your numbers, you need to think about what's your pipeline like for the future. And if we get too narrow at the entry point, I think that will create problems further down the line. It's much easier to take your talent from your own trainees. We'll need to think differently about how we train our people. But I think it's really important to retain that pipeline.
So we've talked about the structure of how a junior lawyer would work at the moment. With it, there's a lot of repetition and what probably in the past would be called drudge work. If that's going, or there's much less of it, what happens next for them in the new era?
We'll need to find ways, if AI is doing that, of ensuring that they still learn. You learn from maybe the third or fourth time that you do that stuff. You're not still learning in quite the same way after the 20th or 25th time that you're doing it. I think there's a real opportunity to move our trainees, who are highly smart, highly skilled, kind of further up the value chain in terms of the work that they're doing. I think a lot of the time in big law firms, more junior lawyers and trainees are protected for quite a long time from that higher value work.
In 2023, Simmons & Simmons launched their in-house Gen AI tool called Percy.
It's a retrieval augmented generation engine, and it's a way to process documents with a particular technique in the background to make them more accessible.
The tool assists their employees to crunch through masses of documents and make sure they cover all the important points in their decision-making.
So we've asked it to help us draft some interview questions or potential questions that we might want to kind of get more information about the complaints he's raised. Here you can see that Percy has kind of spat out some questions by theme.
Do you think you've lost anything by not having to read through reams and reams of documents in the same way?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm still reading all the documents. I'll have read every single line of all the interview notes before I've produced any outcome, because, again, you're never going to rely 100% on what Percy tells you. So I've still done that, but then what it's allowed me to do is kind of just ensure that the output that I'm creating is just that bit more accurate.
So there's been some research that shows that humans tend to cognitively offload when we're using AI. We don't engage with it at quite the same intensity as when we're processing stuff that we're reading and writing about. How do you get past that? Because you have to as lawyers.
Where you might see the cognitive offload happen is where people kind of shortcut their prompts. And naturally what you get back is also not as good. Here you can see that there's time's been taken out to actually produce the prompt, and that actually requires you to actively engage in what the output that you want is. So until you do that, you're then not actually going to get what you want from the AI.
So your prompting skills are improving along with your legal skills?
Yeah, absolutely.
Being adept at writing prompts is currently key to using AI effectively in law firms and elsewhere. It requires us to communicate complex ideas effectively and clearly, and will be a skill most of us need for the future. Expensive talent wars still continue in the legal sector. But could the lure of AI training and job augmentation be what sways the best talent?
You've got to be comfortable using AI. I've moved my messaging a bit internally when I'm doing town halls from trying to reassure people to I think people have to be a little bit scared, because I think jobs will disappear. We don't quite know how things will be in a few years' time. It's all changing pretty rapidly. So they need to be able to be flexible with whatever's taking place.
As employees, we have to accept that our bosses are in a period of experimentation, and we're part of it. Some of them are going all in on AI at the expense of jobs, and some of them are maintaining hiring, especially at the junior level. But for students and graduates, it raises the question of whether university is even worth it anymore. My feeling is yes. If you've got a degree from a top university, that's always going to start your career off on the right foot. But overall, the education system, both in schools and universities, is not equipping graduates and school leavers with the skills and also the critical thinking that they'll need for a future-proof career in the workplaces of tomorrow.
So if you look back sort of hundreds of years to medieval times, one of the ways in which young people learned their skills was that they would be apprenticed to a master. And actually often their middle-class families would save up their money and pay that master craftsman to take their young person on. And you know, I have talked to some people who think that maybe that's going to be a model for the future, because if a big company can't really monetize the skills of their more junior people, rather than not hire them at all, maybe they'll be willing to take them on in exchange for some sort of fee. Or the alternative would be, you know, a return of a kind of indentured labour, which also happened with apprenticeships, whereby, you know, a company can say, well, look, we'll take you on and train you, even though we can't really sell your skills just yet. But in return, you know, once you're fully trained, you're going to need to stick with us for 10 years or whatever. It's interesting to see how these sort of super modern problems are having people reaching into the history books for potential solutions.
AI evangelists are saying that the skills that will be needed for entry-level jobs in future are changing fast. And some of them are even guessing what skills are going to be needed for jobs that don't exist yet. But in the meantime, we're cutting those entry-level jobs and the drudgery that goes with it. But are we throwing out something valuable when we do that? Those entry-level jobs create the pipeline for the future. And without it, we may all be adrift.